comes to a head at this event is massive.
A new world record in pro wrestling paid attendance.
AEW is the only place where this revolution can be global.
From Wembley Stadium to All In, Texas.
When AEW started, immediately we became a force in pro wrestling in the United States.
It's felt a lot different for everybody in that locker room.
The scale of a stadium show like All In, you just get a sense that something special is about to happen.
The match the world has wanted to see in an AEW ring.
When it comes to this match, Okada, let's leave it all in the ring. One final time for everything.
If you guys beat us at All In, then me and Swerve can't challenge for the world title for 1 year.
I have beaten the very best all over the world, and now All In Texas, I'm bringing it home.
While you want all the titles, I need only one.
And we will have the greatest women's match of all time.
Adam Page, Jon Moxley.
You have to step up and become the man that everybody wants you to become.
Jon Moxley, you give me everything or you give me death and make this a Texas death match.
All In means more than just an event now. All In is truly what we're giving.
What a spectacle.
The most anticipated match ever in AEW. They are all here because one day we fell in love with pro wrestling. This is All In.
You are listening to your AEW All In betting preview here exclusively on the Lock Betting podcast. You can follow Lock Betting on Instagram at Lock Betting. That is a hub for everything that we do. You can find the latest spreadsheets posted there. You can find the 3 latest spreadsheets pinned to the top of the page, including the month of June, which was the 145th month in a row of transparent and track profit. You'll also find betting information videos there, free bets, and it's also a place to contact me if you have any questions.
When AEW started, I was probably one of the first people to lay eyes on what would be the Men's World Championship.
How does this young man at 27 years of age handle this pressure?
I managed to eventually in 2021 win that.
They've got a
The passion after I had it and I lost it, I think that I lost a little bit. And then came Swerve Strickland.
You've gotten comfortable.
He was right. And then he did something that he never should have done.
I will burn his world to the ground.
I knew that I had to put what had happened behind me. And in doing that, I entered the Owen Hart Foundation Cup.
The Hangman, one step closer to redemption.
The need triumphed over the want.
What matters is not the win, it is not the loss, it is what you decide to do with it.
I promised you that at All In, I would defeat Jon Moxley. And I would take that championship out of the briefcase and show it to the world.
Can he defeat Jon Moxley for a 3rd time in his career?
I will enjoy this because Jon Moxley is a hypocrite. For months and months, he wanted the wrestlers of AEW to step up. And every time that someone did that, he had the Death Riders come into the ring and shut it down. He is a liar. I will never take away anything from Jon Moxley as a wrestler, but as a man, he has it all wrong.
For nearly a year, I've been begging somebody, daring somebody, anybody to step up and have what it takes to rip this away from me. This is who you bring me. For you, this is do or die. The cowboy thinks he wants a Texas death match, and he's got one. All Hangman Page's chips are on the table. All my chips are on the table. I know what Hangman Page is thinking. He's thinking, I've been here before. I've been successful here before. I I've beat Jon Moxley before. Hangman Page is not willing to go as far as he's going to need to go to win in a Texas death match against Jon Moxley in 2025. The Jon Moxley of today kicks the of the Jon Moxley of 2-3 years ago. He does not want to be the man that the world, that these fans, that All Elite Wrestling have demanded him to be. The Jon Moxley of today, the AEW World Champion, is going to beat the absolute hell out of Hangman Page at All In Texas. I don't care which gives up first, his mind, his body, or his spirit.
Year after year, had to deal with this bullcrap from these EVPs. If we all work together, one night, then kill each other.
Ospreay took the bullet.
All In put the EVP titles on the line. What do we get out of this?
Me and my big mouth sometimes gives me in a little bit of trouble.
You guys beat us. Then me and Swerve can't challenge for the world title for 1 year. They're not on the same page. Is that right?
There's a reason why we would agree to this.
We're the Young Bucks, man.
You guys are just two dumbasses.
The main mission has always been to retrieve the belt, get it off Moxley at all costs. And the Bucks have been inserting themselves.
Death Riders, you want to change the world just like us.
We have to neutralize the Young Bucks as a threat.
Guess we gotta.
Swerve and Ospreay wagering their ability to challenge for the World Championship for 1 year.
We're all done with the power that you keep abusing.
Against the EVP title.
Show some damn respect for the founding fathers.
Can you imagine us losing on our own show? You're gonna have to kill us.
We're putting the EVP title on someone that has always belonged to you people.
Not having a chance to win the world title for 1 year.
Can we humiliate you guys on the biggest stage? The pressure has never been on more than one pay-per-view. Everything can change.
For 1 year, I cannot bear the thought of not going for the World Championship. Having the Young Bucks still in control of AEW.
Everything that we've been through this past year has been about control. I'm taking that.
It's time for a new generation shift. The aerial assassins, the feeling, the franchise Swerve Strickland. This ain't your AEW anymore. This is ours.
Whose house?
So, arguably, there are 3 main matches on the card. I'm going to talk about these 2 first that you just heard about in the promo packages because I can link these 2 together. Now, I was quite into AEW, or at least back into AEW last year, heading into the Wembley show, All In at Wembley. Bryan Danielson chasing the championship. We obviously had that match between Mariah May and Toni Storm. That was in the, I would say, the middle of their storyline, but that was a very well built up storyline. The Bryan Danielson push to the world title, career versus title, was also very well built up. And overall, the show had a good build across the board. Even MJF versus Will Ospreay did some decent work getting you into the build for that pay-per-view and then subsequently getting you into the pay-per-view and getting you back into AEW. And AEW has done that on multiple occasions, but it lacks consistency. I'm someone who dips in and out. And when I say I dip in and out when it comes to viewership, I obviously cover wrestling. I obviously charge for news over at the Dirty Sheets via my paywall, thedirtysheets.com. So I can't drop off entirely, but I do sometimes drop off to the point where I'm watching Dynamite highlights rather than watching the show. And I don't watch Collision and I don't watch Rampage because I just generally feel that too much wrestling content is produced on a weekly basis, especially from AEW, when you're not really showcasing your top stars on some of these shows. And it is just a lot of filler garbage that I don't need to see. And that's the problem with AEW. AEW has never catered for the mainstream. It has only catered for this hardcore audience. And if you're not in that hardcore audience, you're not obsessed with wrestling, then there's no need to really watch AEW. You can dip in and dip out and still keep up with what's going on. That's what I've been able to do. But I'm very interested in this show. I've been interested in the builds. I've been catching up with Dynamite, and I'm hoping that they can hold me. I'm hoping that they can deliver a level of consistency, the level of consistency that they've delivered going into the show, that it can carry on afterwards. And a lot of that will hang, no pun intended, on the shoulders of Hangman Page, who I do expect to leave this show as the AEW champion. Now, one of the reasons why people have lost interest in AEW over the last 10 to 12 months is because of the convoluted nature of it. You had the Young Bucks attack Tony Khan with the worst Meltzer driver we've ever seen. But nonetheless, the storyline intent was there. The EVPs were going to take over the company and they were sick of Tony Khan. Then you introduced the Death Riders, another group who are also trying to take over the company. Now, I'm not sure what the Death Riders were actually supposed to be. First of all, it shouldn't have crossed over with the EVP takeover. That's what I mean about it being convoluted. And second of all, was this always supposed to be an organization that had a higher power, that had a leader who was pulling the strings on top? While Moxley was the face that we saw on TV, was this always supposed to be Shane McMahon's introduction into AEW? And that's why it never really hit, why it never made any sense, and why the Death Riders will probably go down as one of the worst main event attractions in the history of wrestling.
Any chance you would join the AEW, maybe?
Had a meeting with AEW and wish them, continued success or whatever, but it's not WWE. It's not the company I helped build. But you never know what's going to happen in this business.
What we're led to believe happened was Tony Khan reached out to Shane McMahon, set up a meeting, and had some interest in bringing him in as a TV character, while Shane McMahon was interested in actually helping Tony Khan run and improve his company. But Tony Khan, who is a narcissist and delusional, feels like he knows exactly what he's doing and did not want that help from Shane McMahon, who is a huge part of the WWE for many decades, including being a part of the hugely successful Attitude Era. Now, of course, Cokehead Khan wouldn't want any help from Shane McMahon and only wanted to implement him as a TV character, which is not where Shane's head was at. And maybe that's why this storyline got messed up. And as I said, the convoluted nature of two groups trying to take over the company at the same time never really made sense. And a lot of stuff in AEW doesn't tend to make sense, which is why we have this drop-off and why AEW largely caters to the hardcore fans who are also tribalist and who religiously defend everything that we do, everything that they do on the internet, which sometimes makes it intolerable and makes you want to root against AEW. But at this moment in time in particular, I want to be one of these people who root for AEW due to the fact that WWE are making some very unpopular decisions, like their ticket prices, for example, pricing out families and just pricing out people who don't want to pay those prices. Even if you've got money, doesn't mean you're a fucking moron who wants to part of your cash for anything at any given price. The prices for WrestleMania were absolutely ridiculous. And I actually do sympathize with the people who got their tickets early whilst others swooped in the final week and paid a quarter of the price of what some of the people paid for the same seats. And that's not a good example being set by WWE for next year, because the more that information leaks out, the more people are going to wait, or they're not going to attend the show at all. And especially when people have a bad taste in their mouth from the Las Vegas experience from last year, particularly from the main event. So I don't like a lot of what WWE are doing, and I would like the alternative to be better. But AEW coming off this show need to deliver a level of consistency. This needs to be a fresh start where AEW do deliver like they've delivered with the build-up to this show. And a lot of that's going to be on the shoulders of Hangman Page. He is the heavy favourite to win the world title tonight at -800, with Jon Moxley at +425. I cannot see beyond Hangman Page winning this championship and ending this mess and pulling that briefcase out of, pulling that belt rather out of the briefcase. I think that will be the end of the show, and then we are off to the races. However, I think it's very likely that Hangman Page immediately is going to lose two potential challengers in Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. Ospreay and Strickland are the +110 underdogs to beat the Young Bucks, who are priced up at -150. If you shop around, you can find the Young Bucks at around about -130. It doesn't really make sense to me, this match. Why would the Young Bucks accept this? A year goes so quickly in wrestling. And why would you really give a fuck if Ospreay or Strickland did go on to challenge and win the championships when your tag team wrestlers, the Young Bucks themselves, never go for the world titles? And for the past year, you've had Jon Moxley holding the belt hostage anyway, and the Young Bucks weren't getting anywhere near it. Is it just because they find the combination of Ospreay and Strickland so intolerable that they would put pretty much everything on the line just to stop them from challenging for the prestigious world championship for a year? You're talking about the EVP titles. This means that you run the company. This means that you make the most money. This is how you put bread on the table for your families. This is the biggest thing in your lives, and you're putting it on the line, short of your actual family's lives being on the line. This is the biggest thing that you have, and you're putting it on the line to pettily stop two people from challenging for a championship, which seems somewhat irrelevant to you. Now, I can't make this make sense. I can't make this trade-off seem fair. A year without challenging for the belt versus your entire EVP title, which is what funds you, which is what makes you. That doesn't make sense to me, but as I said, we just need to look past some things. Overall, this is going to be an intriguing matchup. The odds are quite tight, much tighter than the first matchup that we covered. But I do believe it makes the most sense for the Young Bucks to win this match. Maybe there can be a miscommunication between Ospreay and Strickland, and they can delve off into their own feud to kill some time. But it does, as I said, lose two challenges for Hangman Page. I think Hangman Page and Swerve has been completely done to death, and this is probably a good way to keep them apart. I'm not sure who the challengers for Hangman will be. I assume that Moxley may pursue a rematch initially, but after that, AEW are really going to have to do a good job in terms of setting up challengers. Obviously, the Hurt Syndicate are right there, and Bobby Lashley and MJF can immediately be credible challengers for Hangman, whilst coming up short, because I do believe that you need to establish Hangman as the face of your company. You need to do a better job than you did last time, and you need to make him a proper face, a real credible face for AEW who can draw money and who is believable as your world champion. Because if you look on the other side, the WWE currently have John Cena and are likely to go back to Cody Rhodes. Can you currently put Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page in the same conversation as a draw? And on the other side, for the Raw Championship, the World Heavyweight Championship, I assume that will very soon be going around the waist of Seth Rollins, maybe temporarily around the waist of CM Punk, but probably getting back round to Seth Rollins, who's the Money in the Bank holder. Can you, at this moment in time, compare Hangman Page and Seth Rollins? I think getting up to the level of a Cena or a Rhodes is probably not realistic for Hangman Page, but Seth Rollins, he has never drawn as a champion. He has never been seen, in my eyes at least, as that A-level main event player. Even though he won in the main event of night one at WrestleMania, his title runs haven't worked. And there are similarities between Rollins and Hangman, but Hangman really needs to make it work this time. His title run needs to be booked properly. You need to have credible contenders ready to go. And as I said, you're going to lose two of them here, but I don't think Swerve Strickland would have been one anyway. And I think this all sets up for Will Ospreay to go a year without the championship and being able to immediately challenge for the next All In, which we know is going to take place at Wembley Stadium.
It's very rare that we talk about two athletes at their absolute peak facing each other at the same time.
IWGP Heavyweight Championship is on the line. Kazuchika Okada defending against the cleaner Kenny Omega.
Back when I first had the chance to face Kazuchika Okada, it felt like a lifetime ago. Okada was the man. The greatest IWGP champion that ever had lived.
There's got to be something special for Kenny here earning this title opportunity.
That first match, in that losing effort, I found more of myself. If I could just push myself the extra little bit harder, maybe I could reach Okada.
It's what the world has been waiting for, the most eagerly anticipated rematch, maybe in pro wrestling history.
I did everything I could to get that second chance.
What a battle! What a war!
As soon as as I'd felt that we had reached the part where you finally crumble and I take that belt from you.
Okada is wide open. Really trying to do it. Here we go.
Time limit draw.
Your ego couldn't handle the fact that Okada beat you previously.
This crowd is electric. Getting to see the third in the trinity of Omega Okada.
We're in the same block of the G1. I gave everything that I had to beat you in that night.
What Kenny doesn't like to talk about is he came to me and he asked me for my advice. I gave Kenny what he needed to defeat Okada.
Which takes us to match 4. I was the one that knew that if it came down to a matter of endurance, human chess, I knew that I could beat you. And I left a lot of what made me, me in that ring on that night. But I still beat you. And if I could do it all over again, I would.
You embrace me in my home. Now, I'll embrace you in your home.
This is why I come to work, because the job is not done. And now, your hubris has caused you to make a very grave error. You're a kite dancing in a hurricane, Kenny. We are going to take everything from you, and Okada is going to show you that when they write the history books of this feud, of this epic war between you and Okada, that Okada and me were the victors.
Mercedes, when you look in the mirror, what do you see?
We have so many similarities. We both started so young.
A little girl destined to change the business.
We were given trophies. We were given flowers.
The one who redefined wrestling.
And when that wasn't enough, we left it all behind to follow our hearts.
Do you see greatness?
And in AEW, we became exactly who we are meant to be.
I don't. I see a broken woman, where every punch has left a bruise, where every love has left a scar, where every defeat has left me embarrassed, humiliated, and screaming in agony.
You want all the titles,
but it was all worth it.
I need only one.
For this!
I have lived for this. I have cried for this. I have bled for this. And I have died for this.
This is my reason. This is my purpose. And when my tombstone reads AEW Women's World Champion, it's because that is how I will die. I don't make history. I live it.
The first four-time AEW Women's World Champion.
I didn't start a revolution, but I don't mind ending one. And you would have had this first, if I would have never been born. But I won't be going back to the womb anytime soon. Mercedes, when I look in the mirror, I know who I am. At All In, who will you see?
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the greatest of them all? You're looking at her, darling. Mercedes Moné, the Beyonce of women's wrestling. The one and only CEO who reigns supreme of them all.
I am the greatest TBS champion of all time.
I came to AEW because I know exactly who I am.
I am the standard. I am the conversation.
This is my world, and you're just living in it.
I am the revolution.
So, Tony, darling, when you look in the mirror, who do you see?
This is about me and my legacy.
While you're crying about all your bruises and your scars, I'm out here collecting titles all around the world. We both took a chance to follow our dreams, and some may say that's heroic.
I'm not a boss anymore.
But I didn't have a choice.
I'm a CEO.
When I step into the ring, it's not just a match. It's a spectacle, a masterpiece, a Picasso, and I'm the artist. every strike I throw is another brushstroke on the canvas of greatness.
Mexico, Japan, England. I have beaten the best all over the world.
And every opponent who dares to try to jump on the money train is just another stepping stone on my path of immortality. When my name is etched in history books, it's not just going to say 7 belts Monet, AEW Women's World Champion. It is going to scream Mercedes Monet, the one-woman revolution. So Tony, at All In, who will you see?
Greatness.
Darling, what took you so long?
The CEO has a date with the AEW Women's World Champion.
This was the one match you wanted to have. I swear to an unknown god, you have never met anyone like me.
You parade around AEW with your chest up, tits out, cheap little slippers, and your silly little accent.
Is that all I am to you?
I'm a global champion.
Mercedes Monet, another championship.
Is that all this is to you? Another trophy?
Lucky number 7.
Look at this. It's the lady in red.
I am not some other mother.
You're not just some mother.
It has been getting increasingly physical between these two women.
You're the that's gonna get so over at All In Texas.
I am a manic, erotic, bottom-heavy, transatlantic whore. But in this belt, I found myself.
This is my movie.
And if you make one false move, I am going to eat you alive.
No one is going to stop the money train, not even you.
All in Texas.
We will have the greatest women's match of all time.
Darling! Let the games begin! Eat, bitch.
Great video packages. AEW have done a great job. 4 or 5 star builds across the board for these top tier matches. But it's about consistency. As I said, they did this going into All In last year. Have AEW cut ties with too many people? Have too many people given up on it already? Have they lost credibility, or can they bring people back? Will people give AEW a chance again? Or do they just believe and realize that they do this? They do create intrigue and interest around certain pay-per-views. They do even deliver on their pay-per-views, albeit they are widely believed to be too long. That is common consensus among people, that AEW do need to shorten these pay-per-views. These pay-per-views are too much of an investment. Put less matches on here, build them up properly, concentrate on your big 4 or 5 like they have done here for this show. I'm very, very interested in all of these matches, and I'm interested in carrying on with watching AEW after this. That's what I want to do. I want them to compete with the WWE. WWE having a very poor year, especially compared to 2024. Whilst last year AEW was coming off behind a red hot SummerSlam, this year they're coming off people just complaining about how repetitive WWE is, and how bad WrestleMania was, and how John Cena's run hasn't hit, and how Paul Heyman's group aren't really clicking. This is a big opportunity for AEW to not only deliver with the build and the show, but then to capitalize moving forward. So we begin here by looking at the match between Omega and Okada. This isn't my type of match. I know a lot of people are massively interested in this one. For me, it's not the type of match that will draw me towards AEW, but I do understand why people would be interested in it, because this is one for your wrestling purists, your Dave Meltzer guys, your Wrestling Observer subscribers. Kenny Omega is the favorite to win it. Depending on where you look, the prices vary. I'm going to stick with Bet Online and quote Omega here as the -160 favorite, whilst Okada is a +120 underdog. Whenever you mention the fact that someone's beaten you before and that you can't beat them and that you won't be able to beat them, that usually means that the other guy is winning, unless he's retiring after this match, which Kenny Omega isn't. Omega's had to overcome a lot. This is a big moment for him. There were stories out there that he might not have been able to wrestle again. There are even stories out there that he might have, he was close to dying at some point. Not sure how much weight I put behind those, but ultimately it's been a tough and difficult road back for Kenny Omega. And I think this is his moment. this match will get a high star rating. It's almost guaranteed. From Meltzer and from Cage Match and the likes of. For me, Okada has been a massive failure since he's come to AEW. I've never quite seen what they've paid all the money for. For me, he's been very, very underwhelming. I watch him. I don't get it. I don't get why he was a star. I don't get why he's seen as a star. I don't get why he got paid all this money. But I'm expecting to see him deliver here. I'm expecting for even me to be able to see a 5-star match. I don't want this to be subjective. If this is going to get 5, 6 or 7 stars, I want to be aligned with it. Whilst I would never give something 6 stars or 7 stars because that's ridiculous, because it's over 100%, because the rating stops at 5. And the moment that Meltzer gave something 6 or 7 is when he destroyed his own rating system and his own credibility. But I want to see an actual 5-star match. I want to believe that I've seen a 5-star match. And that's the pressure that's put on this match. And the same pressure to a lesser extent, but not really. The same pressure really could be applied to Monet and Toni Storm when they turn around and say that they are going to have the greatest women's match of all time. You better go out there and actually deliver the greatest women's match of all time. Now, this is a match that could close the show. I don't think it will, but if any women's match had a claim to close out the show, it would be this one. Outside of the WWE, this is the biggest women's match of all time. Obviously, there was a WrestleMania main event, and this can't be compared to that, where Becky Lynch became Becky Two Belts. But behind that, this is probably the biggest match, in my opinion, because of the build, because of what's on the line. Toni Storm has been the face of AEW's women's division and has brought a lot of credibility to that division with the work that she's done, particularly her feud with Mariah May. And it's very difficult to ever predict against Toni Storm. Whilst on the other side, you have Mercedes Moné or Mercedes Goldberg, Mercedes Hogan, use whatever one you want to use. She has been booked as an unbeatable, undefeated superstar, and the juggernaut now rolls into All In, looking to become the dual champion in AEW. She wants to hold on to the championship that she already has and take the world championship away from Toni Storm. So this is a massive match here. And Monet was the favourite in most places at the start of the week. She now goes into this match on Saturday morning as a plus 110 underdog, with Toni Storm now priced up at minus 150. Now, I don't know what's happened here. Usually I'm inclined to go along with the line movement, but I just cannot go against Mercedes Moné. This is somebody who has creative control over themselves. Now, Toni Storm can lose this match and then chase a rematch later on down the line, but I just don't think this is the time where you beat Mercedes Moné. Now, Mercedes Moné, considering what she's believed to be paid and her push, hasn't really worked for AEW. I don't think this has been a successful signing. I believe overall this has been a massive waste of money. Now, if you'd paid less for Mercedes Moné, had we not known what she was being paid, then perhaps it would have been more of a sound investment. I don't think she's been terrible, and I certainly think it's improved over the last 3 or 4 months. But overall, she has not been a solid value signing. But unlike others, they have stuck with it. She has been solidly booked. And if somebody comes into a matchup completely undefeated and there is genuine intrigue as to whether she's going to suffer her first defeat, then you have to say it's working as of right now. Whilst Mercedes hasn't largely worked, it's working right now. There is genuine interest going into this match, and it's a genuine 50-50. You see people picking Toni Storm, and this being the first time that Mercedes Moné loses, thinking that this is what it's all been building up to, challenging for the belt and falling short, or Mercedes Moné overcomes all. I think the creative control card is relevant here. I think the fact that Toni can suffer the loss and recover from it. I think the fact that if Mercedes Moné, for me, if she loses this matchup, it's difficult to build her back up again for another championship match or have that same level of intrigue towards it. I think Mercedes Moné gets the win here, and I'm surprised to see the line movement. Line movement for me usually indicates that somebody knows something, but I would have had Mercedes Moné as a strong favourite, even stronger than what the line originally opened up as. Because when I looked at it at the start of the week, I genuinely didn't feel that Mercedes Moné was short enough. I always felt like Mercedes Moné was winning this match. So when I saw the initial line, when I saw Mercedes Moné opening up as a -125 favourite, I didn't necessarily agree with that either. So given the fact that I had Moné priced up in my head at around about -180, -200, around about that region, I was surprised at the -125. So obviously, I'll be jumping all over the +110 here for Mercedes Moné to get her hands on this championship, be the dual champion. And as I said, this has a claim to be in the main event spot. If not this match, then no match ever with the women is going to main event any show. Maybe a rematch. Maybe if they can solidly build towards a rematch, maybe if they can go away, put Toni Storm on the chase for 6 months and at a lesser pay-per-view that's not All In, perhaps in January or February time, maybe you can go with a women's main event where Toni Storm gets a rematch. I think that's very plausible. But for here, I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with Mercedes Moné to lift this championship at the price of +110 here for this one. Quickly, in other matches I'm going to cover, I think Carl Fletcher comes through against Adam Cole as a -300 favourite. I think the Hurt Syndicate hold on to their belts. They're -400 favourites to defeat Jet Speed, who are at +400, and the Patriarchy, who are at +325. I don't think it's time to take the belts off the Hurt Syndicate yet. I think they're going to have a big night. I think they're going to win this matchup. And I feel that MVP is going to end up winning that Casino Battle Royal, although there is no pricing yet available as I'm recording the show for that. Maybe there will be nearer the show, but of course, if you want to get all of my official plays, head over to lockbetting.com, where I will be posting my betting picks for this AEW show and for all of the WWE action this weekend. Of course, WWE Saturday Night's main event happens straight after AEW All In. This was obviously a huge weekend for wrestling, with WWE deliberately scheduling shows to go against AEW. AEW aren't happy about it, but this is just how this business has always been. And the only way that AEW can genuinely respond to it is by delivering a better product, beating WWE with their builds. Their builds to this show have been better than WWE's build to Saturday Night's main event, considerably better than WWE Evolution, which quite frankly has been an embarrassment. Trish versus Tiffany Stratton has been a complete embarrassment. I can't believe that WWE have delivered such a lackluster build for a show that some people have been asking for 7 years. Now, I wasn't one of these people. I wasn't one of these people crying out for another Evolution. There have been those certain types of people, those woke social justice crybaby warriors who complain that there isn't enough women's wrestling on TV and that women are underutilized. Well, women are utilized more than enough. They're utilized more than they should be based on the numbers, based on what they draw for ratings, based on what they draw on merchandise, based on how many tickets they actually sell. In fact, women are overused when it comes to how much we see of them on TV. Yet you're still crying out for more. Yet you're still crying out for main events. Yet you're still crying out for your own pay-per-view. Well, here it is, and it has sold an underwhelming amount of tickets. It has had a horrible build, and it is not in the same ballpark as this AEW show, particularly the build for Moné versus Toni Storm. But as I said, Moné versus Toni Storm is a special match. It's one of those rare occasions where someone has been booked perfectly, or at least super strongly when it comes to... I would say, in fact, let me change that statement. Toni Storm has been booked perfectly, and Mercedes Moné has been booked strongly, more strongly than anyone else. So strong booking versus perfect booking come together and unite for one match. And that is a really, really strong match right there. That's a strong reason to have a match. That's going to draw interest. And for me, that is credible enough to actually main event a show. Don't think it will. It's going to be Hangman and Moxley. but it could have done, and I don't think too many people would have complained. Not even I would have complained, and I'm someone who's very much against forcing women's wrestling down people's throats. In fact, forcing any narrative down people's throats, whether it be women's wrestling or skin colours or anything political. When things are politicised and forced down your throat, that's when it doesn't work for me. And I don't think that's the case for this match. And as I said, they can do a rematch in 5 to 6 months' time and do it at a lesser pay-per-view, and it may be justified to put Tony and Mercedes Moné in the main event position. But overall, I'm looking forward to this show. My lock on this show is to take Mercedes Moné to win the championship. I think she's too big, and that's going to be our lock for Mercedes Moné to beat Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship at the price of plus 110. That's it for me and your AEW All In preview. Good luck with all your bets as always, guys, and thanks for listening.